Morning. I want to bring in now Fox News contributor Jason Chaffetz. Jason, President Trump saying that we have to unite. I think that was the key phrase that he just said there. I think it was a phrase that a lot of Americans were looking for, particularly as the instability crisis in our country keeps ratcheting up to levels where it seems like if it doesn't stop, there's going to be some ugly outcomes.
Yeah, no, there's been, look, we're in the midst of a midterm election. There's a lot on the line. There's a lot of debate and discussion. But when people do step over the line and incite violence, when people are actually in the act of sending potential explosive devices, some sort of suspicious white powder, the president, I think, struck the exact right tone. It's not Republican or Democrat, but the full weight of the federal government, the local officials, NYPD is about as good as they get. But, you know, you also have this device supposedly sent down in Florida as well, and the president struck the right tone. Thank goodness nothing's gone off at this point, and I do think the authorities will solve this sooner rather than later.
At what point is do we cross the Rubicon? In other words, where do we see, is it okay, for instance, to suggest and to urge people to, for instance, go after a politician who's at lunch with his spouse, his or her spouse? You know, we keep hearing, I heard that a lot over the weekend. I heard that the attacks on Mitch McConnell were okay because people felt like they had no other way of voicing their displeasure. And the suggestion was that a restaurant is a public space where this is legal or should be done. And it scared me. It bothers me because I think ultimately it does lead to something. It's going to lead to a physical altercation, and it's going to be an ugly result. Where do we find that line where we can voice our opposition, our anger, no matter what side of the political aisle you're on, to make sure that it's heard, but in a way that it doesn't seem to be tripping or triggering violence?
Somebody said to me a long time ago, you can disagree, just don't be disagreeable. Where I do think a lot of people have gone over the line is to incite the actual harassment of people. When they're away from their job, with their families, I think of Sarah Sanders and her family just trying to have a nice meal. Look, I understand people spontaneously may bump into other people. I've been on the receiving end of this.
Yeah, but we're talking about planned, orchestrated,
exactly.
or even a spontaneous outburst, but they're so violent. People throwing food and plates and getting in your face. No. That's intimidation. That's beyond just voicing your rights as a citizen.
Exactly. And so there's a personal space there, I think, that needs to be had. But I worry that the political leaders like, you know, Representative Maxine Waters have been openly encouraging this. You had Eric Holder saying, hey, we need to kick them. That's, you know, a message that goes out to people that can't really discern right from wrong, and they think it's okay and that they'll get a pat on the back. I'm not saying that that is necessarily what's going on with these packages that are going on, but people have to be careful. It wasn't too long ago that one of my colleagues, Steve Scalise, was shot. And so people just need to take a deep breath, calm down a little bit, and understand that the United States of America is the greatest country on the face of the planet. We have divisions, but somehow, some way, we'll get through it and we'll solve these issues. But you can't do this to your fellow human beings, fellow Americans. Shouldn't be doing this stuff.
And yet, obviously, the parlor game has begun of blame. Yeah. You know, we've seen where some people have blamed President Trump already. I think even Cuomo, you know, talked about his rhetoric, if you will. And it's interesting to me because it's not unlike the Russians attempting to not sway the election, but just create disruption in our country. So they know the hot buttons for the left and the right, and they just kind of sit back and watch the infighting. I remember, I think it was Khrushchev who suggested that the USSR was going to defeat America, without firing a shot. In other words, these sort of political incivilities and these sort of animosities that we get from time to time, that they can be pricked a certain way where we attack each other and destroy our own country.
No, I think Abraham Lincoln had a quote like that, where it was essentially, it's not going to be an outside force. The spirit of America will always prevail, but if we turn on ourselves and we're fighting amongst ourselves to a degree that goes past that line, then that will spell the end. Everybody just needs to take a deep breath. Fight for what you believe in, fight for the principles, but you don't need to get up in the face of a Mitch McConnell or Sarah Sanders or Jeff Flake or whoever you might run into that day. Just take a deep breath.
Yeah. And Nancy Pelosi, the list goes on and on. A lot of people have been yelled at and I think intimidated, physically intimidated, and it's scary.
Yeah.
Jason Chaffetz, thank you very much.
Thanks, Charles.